Together with Earle Sports Bets, yeah, the twins, they be checking in. Stacking up, green is the scene that you're stepping in. Winning is a trend, and we stay making dollars. Nerd talk with the sports bet scholars. Yeah, it's R.I.P. to the bookies. R.I.P. to the bookies. R.I.P. to the bookies. R.I.P. to the bookies.
We are live. Welcome back to another edition of the Earle Sports Bet Show. My name is Nicholas Earle. Just me today, as we got a full card really to go over because we have 15 games in the NHL today. We got 5 games in the NBA today, and then we got 2 playoff games today, which I've moved on both of them total-wise. The side-wise are interesting as well. Just got to figure out whether or not I want to double up on these games. So there's that. But before we get into today's games, before we get into today's slate, we'll take a look back at yesterday. What went right, what went wrong in the world of sports betting, and yikes, it was not a fun day yesterday. A 2-6 day yesterday, down 3.45 units. And it was just frustrating. And the NHL went 1-2. Got the Montreal Canadiens in overtime, faded the Washington Capitals, a team that I think is going to be a great bet against candidate going forward. You look at their advanced metrics, I think they're overachieving. We'll get into that when we talk about their game against the Predators later. Loss with the Winnipeg Jets in overtime, so overtime gives and then overtime takes. And then Utah beats San Jose 2-1, so the plus 240 there comes up a little short. Don't hate that play whatsoever. In college basketball, it was one play, Toledo minus 4.5. They win by 2, so they do not cover there. Split out on the NBA, had the New Orleans, Philadelphia under 221.5, which lost, and then had the Nets first quarter plus 5, which won. The full game would not have won if you bet the Nets, so there's that. And then frustrating yesterday, Texas plus 6.5, plus 190. They were on the doorsteps. They had Ohio State sweating there. That final score was not justice of what the game was. That was a close competitive game, and Texas was, I think, 2 yards away from tying the game. Instead, they run a stupid pitch play, and then they fumble it, and it's a touchdown for Ohio State, and all of a sudden it's a 14-point game. But no, Texas was in that game. It was frustrating to see that go away. But it is what it is. Because we still got Notre Dame plus 750 in the national championship game. And I think they're a decent matchup for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think they could slow them down defensively. We'll get into that in 9 days when that game actually takes place. That game's a 9.5. I think that's really disrespectful to the Irish, but that's beyond the point. But we'll get into the chat, and then we will get into today's games. What's good, Nicholas Handy? And yes, the Buckeyes won. Whoop-de-doo. But we'll move into the NBA. We'll get started with the matchup between the Houston Rockets and the Atlanta Hawks. We have the Rockets 6-point favorites, total 234 in this game. As I'm trying to get up the line history, and I have it. Do I really have it on the NFL? So I have to wait for this to load even more. Yeah. All right, cool. Then let me transition to cash flow or click on the wrong game. There we go. We're off to a great start today. As my computer is just being ultra slow. Fun times. Come on. Come on, computer, sometime today. And it looks like it's going to have me log into Action Network, because why not add more time to it? Cool. Let's get this set up. I should have had this set up before the show. Let's see. We'll just have today's games. Be nice if my link can load. No, okay, I gotta switch it over to the NBA. Cool. Where we have, this game is postponed. Okay, this game is postponed, so not going over that one. We'll move on to the next one then. Go ahead and bet Notre Dame. We're gonna prove to you why -9. I got plus 750. We'll see if I need to add more to Notre Dame, but I got plus 750 on the money line from my future. I'll be fine with just into that game, so we'll see. Heard this game got canceled. Yeah, I see no line. Yep, postponed. Yep, I just noticed that as well. So we'll move on. That game was probably the easiest cap we'll have today. Let's get into the next one here, the Phoenix Suns and the Utah Jazz. The Suns, 11.5 point favorites, total of 227 in this game. Line opened up at 11, got up to 11.5, back down to an 11. Line opened up to 29.5, and it's now down to 227. So we do have a move towards this under, and we have a move towards the and we have no move on the side. Let's see. For the cash flow in this game here, we have 58% of the tickets and 56% of the cash is on the Jazz. So interesting there that the Jazz are getting more of the tickets, but I'm not surprised with how the Suns have covered this year. 78% tickets, 75% of the cash is on the over here as well. The line dropping. Utah's 9-27, but they're 19-17 ATS, so they're a team losing but covering. So they've been a good ATS team, or an okay ATS team. 20-16 over under, 7-13 on the road. They're actually worse at home than they are on the road, the Utah Jazz, which is backwards of the way it usually is. Phoenix 17-19 this year. They're currently sitting 12th in the Western Conference, 13-23 ATS. They've been a bad ATS team. 16-18-2 over under, 11-8 at home. They have won 8 in a row against the Utah Jazz, 9 of the last 10, and they've covered in 6 of those. So this has been a matchup that Phoenix has enjoyed as of late. Absolutely no chance I'm laying 11.5 with the Phoenix Suns. And I was kind of wishing the Phoenix Suns were going to be a little bit more public so I could potentially take the Utah Jazz plus the points in this game. But the Jazz are coming in on 4 straight covers. They've lost 2 in a row, but they covered as 5.5 point dogs in a 3-point loss against Atlanta. They covered as 5.5 point dogs in a 5-point loss against Miami. So it would be Utah or nothing, dog or pass, but not getting involved in this one. There's other games to get involved with for today. What's good? Suns smash. I mean, they're 11-point favorites. They absolutely should. I just don't trust them laying that type of number personally. But we'll move on to the next one. The marquee matchup of the day, the Detroit Pistons taking on the Toronto Raptors. The Pistons 4.5-point favorites, total of 228.5 in this game. Starting to see some 229s out there as well. This line opened up at a 231. Actually, got all the way down to a 229. Now all the way down to a 229. So we have a 2-point line movement towards the under. Line opened up at a 6. It's down to a 4.5. So a 1.5 line move towards the Toronto Raptors as well, where we have 71% of the tickets and 71% of the cash is on the Detroit Pistons in this game. And then we have 46% of the tickets, 66% of cash on the under. Lines moving towards the under here. In this one, the Pistons are 19-19. They're 19-18-1 ATS. They're 20-18 over under. They're 9-9 at home. They are a mid team this year, which compared to last year is a big improvement for them to be mid. On the flip side, Toronto 8-30 this year, 21-16-1 ATS though. So they are not. They've been losing a lot straight up, but they've been covering numbers. They are 1-17 in America. That's still crazy there. And this spread, I mean, we don't need them to win to cover this spread. They covered as 13.5-point dogs in their last game against Cleveland. They have been struggling as of late. They've lost 9 of the last 10. They've only covered in 3 of their last 10. I backed them last game, and I want to back them in this game. I don't trust the Pistons as this big of favorites. And the markets don't either. This line's gone from a 6 to a 4.5. So just showing that They really don't have too much market respect. You can still get a 5 with Toronto over on Bovada at -110, over on Fanatics at -110. Give me the Raptors here, +5, -110 in this game. I think this is too many points, and the market's pointing towards it as well. So I'm going to grab Toronto plus the 5 in this game against Detroit. I just think this is too many. Let's see. Booker 8+ assists. Sexton under. Plan to bet the Pistons. See how the UFC card plays out. Fair. I'm against that, but hey, good luck on the UFC today. Detroit smash. That's fair. I give out a play, and Drewski says the opposite. That's par for the course. We'll move on. 2 games in the NHL remaining, and our NBA remaining, and then we'll go to the NFL. We have the Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. The T-Wolves 1.5-point favorites in this game, total of 231. This line opened up at a 1.5. It's still a 1.5. Let's go money line wise, because 1.5. It's not really it's nothing crazy there. It opened up at 115. Money line for Minnesota. It's now -125. So we have a 10-cent line movement towards Minnesota on the money line. Line opened up 227.5. It's now 231.5. So a big move, 4 points towards the over in this game here. Let's take a look at the cash flow in this one, where the Timberwolves are getting 62% of tickets and 59% of cash on the spread, 67 and 60 on the money line. So we are seeing some love come in on these Minnesota Timberwolves in this game. And I mean, it's kind of surprising. It's kind of surprising considering that they've kind of struggled, but they have won 3 in a row. This Minnesota Timberwolves team against LA, New Orleans, and a hobbled Orlando Magic team. So not the greatest of wins after they lost 3 in a row to Detroit, Boston, and OKC. No shame in those losses other than maybe Detroit, but Detroit had been playing pretty well as of late. Memphis coming in off of a loss. They were 2.5-point favorites against the Houston Rockets, and they lost 119 to 115. For me, it'd probably be Grizzlies or nothing if I'm approaching this game at all, but I'm not. So staying off here in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if I enter the slate and leave the slate with just the Raptors +5, but we'll see. No action here for me with this one. What about Raps team total under? I like the Raptors, so I would say team total over. I'm on the Raps +5. Job 23+ points. Grizz bounce back spot. Yeah, I can see this as a Grizzlies bounce back spot. We'll move on. Final game of the card in the NBA. We have the Miami Heat and the Portland Trailblazers. The Heat now down to a 3.5. I'm seeing on some books. Total of 219 in this one here. Let's take a look at the line history in this one, where I'm still seeing 4 on Bet Online. It's bounced back into it. Opened up at a 4, went down to a 3.5, back up to a 4, back to a 3.5, back up to a 4. So it bounced back and forth between 4 and 3.5 here for Miami. Line opened up 219.5. It's now down to a 219. Let's take a look at the cash flow in this game here. 71% of tickets and 70% of cash is on the Miami Heat. So it looks like this is formulating into a pretty decent play on the Portland Trailblazers. 71% of tickets, 73% of cash on the over. The line's dropping here as well. We have the Portland Trailblazers coming in to this game. They've covered in 4 in a row. They're 2-2 straight up before no ATS the last 4 games. They covered a 7.5-point dogs and a 6-point loss against the Dallas Mavericks in their last game there. And this is a Portland team. Now, this is the first game back after a 5-game road trip. They were in LA, Milwaukee, Detroit, New Orleans, and Dallas. They went 2-3 on that road trip. They get Brooklyn, LA, and Houston next on this homestand. And I'm very interested in them here. The markets are pointing towards they're a very live dog. I can get a +4 over on FanDuel. Give me the 4 with the Portland Trailblazers in this game. So it's going to be, wow, what a beautiful card for me. Raptors and Trailblazers on today's card for me. And I'm actually kind of excited about that. So, I think this is a live dog in this one. I don't trust Miami laying points. I don't trust Miami laying points on the road, where they are 8-10 this year compared to 10-7 at home. The Miami Heat, this is their fourth game of a 6-game road trip. They head to LA to play the Clippers and the Lakers next if they get there, because obviously we know the conditions in California right now, which is why we're seeing the Clippers Hornets game postponed and the Spurs Lakers game postponed today. So that there's that as well. But for me in this one, it's just the Portland Trailblazers at +4 -110 over on FanDuel. Blazers money line. Yeah, I like that. You know, why not? But we'll make the transition from the hardwood to the gridiron, where we have the Houston Texans taking on the LA Chargers. The Chargers 3-point road favorites. We're starting to see some 2.5s now. Total of 41.5 in this game. And I moved on the total earlier in the week. I got under 42.5 for this matchup here. Let's get into the cash flow real quick. We have 71% of the tickets, 71% of the cash is on the LA Chargers. Yet this line, I believe, is moved down. This line, look ahead line for this game, or the opening line for this game, was at 3. And now, and it's not really moved. It was a 3 -105 for the Chargers, and it's actually moved in the favor of the Houston Texans, including seeing some 2.5s pop up now. And then as for the total, we have 81% of tickets, 82% of the cash on the over in this game. I've moved on the under already. I got in at 42.5 a couple days ago. The opening line was a 44. I got in at 42.5. It's all the way down to a 41.5 now. I still like the under. I think this is a game where the first team to 20 wins, and I feel like this has to be Texans +3 in this game for me as well. I didn't really have an intention on doubling up on this game, but the more and more I look at this game throughout the week, it screams Texans cover. And this is a Chargers team that I don't know how much I truly do trust the Chargers when it comes to playoffs. These are actually two teams I don't really trust in the playoffs. But we saw this last year. The Texans won their first game at home against the Browns in the playoffs before getting bounced in the second round. I see something very similar to this year for them. The Houston Texans, they were 10-7. They really didn't have a good year. CJ Stroud really struggled in a little bit of a sophomore slump. The Texans were just lucky that nobody in their division knows how to play football, really. So I'm going to take a shot here. I'm going to add the Texans +3. I'm going to add the Texans +3 to my card. I already have the under 42.5 bet. So I'm going to add the Texans +3 at -120. I think this line hitting 2.5 is very telling as well. And I've seen everybody on the Chargers, which we'll see what happens there. But I'll be on the Texans +3 -120 as well as the under 42.5 in this game. And back to the chat. He's saying hello. Blazers first half is a lean. I could see that. Texans money line. I hate both these football games. They feel like traps, super sharp lines, in my opinion. I could see that. CJ can't lose this game at home. I mean, he can, but yeah, this one might be a field goal fest. I could definitely see that. I have the under in this game, so that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So yeah, let me add this to my bet stamp, or not my bet stamp, to my Cappertek, the +3 there with the Texans. We'll move on. The final game on the NFL card before we get into 15 NHL games. We have the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers, my bad. Total 43.5, 9.5, the spread in this game here. And I moved on the under 43.5 earlier earlier in the week at minus 105. You can get a better line now. It looks like you can get under 44, which I never put it on Cappertek, so I'll take that under 44 for that. Let's take a look at this line. Line opened up at a 9. It's now a 9.5. So we do have a slight move towards Baltimore in this game. Line opened up 45.5, and it's down to a 44. So we have a move towards the under here as well. 75% of tickets, 66% of cash on the over, and yet this line's moving towards the under. 57% of tickets and 53% of cash on the Ravens. The line is moving slightly towards them. So at least if you're on the Ravens today, they're showing a little bit of market support for them here in this game. It's dog or pass for me. If I'm betting the side, we did a little Earles versus girls playoff against the spread things. I took the I took the Steelers. I think it was plus 10 for that. And for me, this is just the under for them. I got under 43.5. I see this as a grinded out AFC North type of playoff football game. And I see this game as a low scoring one. Yes, the last time these two teams played, it was a higher scoring game. But previous to that, I believe 8 straight matchups between these two teams had gone under the total. Because when you look at the scores, there was 34-17 in the last game. It finally went over. Previous to that, 18-16, 17-10, 17-10, 16-13, 16-14, 16-13, 20-19, 20-14. So 8 straight games where the most any team scored was 20 points. I truly think this game is a race to 20, which I think presents value with the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game. If you're looking at that, I would look maybe towards a Ravens team total under in this game if I'm looking towards that. But for me, it would be Steelers or nothing. If I'm betting this side, I'm on the under 43.5 though at minus 105 for this game. Steelers going for the upset today. Yeah, I could definitely see the Ravens losing this game outright. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Flowers is a big loss for the Ravens. Kind of is. But we'll move on to the NFL. And Jackson over an interception. Yeah, I could see that. I think I still see the Ravens winning today, but I don't know about covering. That's the one thing I was kind of curious. I was kind of wondering about is whether or not they cover. But we'll move on to the NHL for the remaining 15 games on the card. We have the Florida Panthers taking on the Boston Bruins. The Panthers minus 190 to minus 200 favorites on this game, total 5.5 in some spots. I have this game projected for 5.91 goals, so it's a lean towards the over here if I'm betting the total in this game between these two teams. And I have this game projected for the Panthers to be around minus 170. So I think this line's kind of correct. It'd be a lean towards an over in this game. Boston is an absolute free fall right now. They've lost 6 games in a row. They've received 1 point in those 6 games, and that was the overtime loss against the Islanders. On the flip side, the Florida Panthers, they've won 3 of their last 5 games. They're coming off of a 4-1 win in Utah. That was on the 8th, so they've had a few days off while heading home. I really don't have too much in this game. It'd probably be over or nothing in this game for me if I'm looking to bet a total. And for a side perspective, I don't see any value on this game. It is a tricky spot where I would at this number, Boston's interesting, but I feel like this line is the way it's supposed to be to present no value for either side. I don't feel like laying $1.95 on the Panthers, but I don't really feel like backing the Bruins right now. So ultimately, it's a stay off for me with just a small lean towards with the over. The small lean towards the over in this game for me, if anything, but a play. CJ Stroud to throw a pick. I can see that. Boston or nothing, I bet. Boston or nothing bet. I pass. Can't lay $1.95. Yeah. Bruins puck line. Probably a little bit juicy there, minus 155, but okay. We'll move on. The Buffalo Sabres taking on the Seattle Kraken. The Sabres are minus 135 favorites with a total of 6 in this game. I have this game projected at 5.8 goals, so I think that 6 number is pretty close to correct. And I have this game projected for the Sabres to be somewhere along the lines of 160 favorites in this game. So seeing them at minus 135, I see a little bit of value here with Buffalo in this game. Buffalo coming in off of back-to-back wins. They won in a shootout against the Washington Capitals. Then they beat the Ottawa Senators 4-0. On the flip side, we have a struggling Seattle team that's lost 4 in a row, including a blowout loss against the Columbus Blue Jackets in their last game. That was a 6-2 win for Columbus, which immediately thought, I wanted to look at Seattle maybe in this game, but I'm not high on Seattle anymore. This is a team that I have over their point total, and I have to make the playoffs that I've kind of given up on this Kraken team. I thought they were going to be more improved this year. This is Buffalo or nothing for me. If I can get $1.30 price tag on Buffalo, I'm kind of interested there. I've backed Buffalo. I backed Buffalo last game against the Senators, and I think I want to back them again in this game. Minus 135. I'll take it over on Bet365. Minus 135 Buffalo Sabres in this game. That's how I'll start my NHL card is with Buffalo here in this one. Buffalo minus 135 for me. I looked at the Kraken for a while last night. Couldn't do it. Buffalo win 3 in a row. Come on. Sabres fan, by the way. There you go. Yeah, I think this is a good matchup for Buffalo. I do. So take a shot with them there. We'll move on. The Ottawa Senators and the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Sens minus 115 road favorites, total of 6 in this game. I believe this is a system play here on the over. Ottawa coming in off of that 4-0 loss against those Buffalo Sabres. Not from a lack of trying. They put up 3.21 expected goals in that game. And they had 35 shots on goal. They outplayed the Buffalo Sabres in that game. They were just 0 for 4 on the power play. So that was kind of the tough part for Ottawa in that game. They've now lost 4 games in a row, so I don't really know if I trust them particularly. I do have this game at a pick, and I have this game projected for 6.44 goals. So the over will be a play for me in this game. Over 6 at minus 115 over on Bet365. Ottawa, Pittsburgh over 6. And it's the team coming in off of the shutout loss. We also have Pittsburgh coming in off of a nice win, 5-3 over the Edmonton Oilers. They have now received points in 4 straight games, but they've won one of those 4 games. That was against Edmonton. They have 3 straight overtime losses previous to that against Columbus, Carolina, and Florida. And, yeah, for me, this is just pretty plain and simple. This is the team coming in off of the shutout loss. Along with, I have this game projected more closer towards a 6.5 rather than a 6. So over 6 here for me, minus 115 over on Bet365. Penn showed life versus Edmonton. Yeah, there's a reason why I'm not on the there's a reason why I didn't bet the Senators in this game as much as I wanted to bet the Sens in this game. Penn smash. Maybe. We'll move on though. Colorado Avalanche and the Winnipeg Jets. The Avalanche, slight pick'em favorite on the road here. Total 6 in this game. The Avalanche coming in off of that blowout win against the Minnesota Wild. It was the Wild's, I believe, first game without Brock Faber. Where is this game on my spreadsheet? There we go. I have this game projected for the Jets to be slight favorites in this game. However, I don't trust them on the second half of a back-to-back. And it's not crazy value. I have them projected around 115. So there's that. I have this game projected for 6.3 goals. I think this is a tricky spot for the Winnipeg Jets, though. They're just coming in off of that game yesterday. It was an overtime game. That's ultimately what's going to keep me off. It was a second half of a back-to-back for the Winnipeg Jets, which was an overtime game. So you go to overtime now. Granted, they get to stay at home, and they still have a bunch more games at home. They have Vancouver, Seattle, Calgary still remaining on this homestand. So at least for who do you call it, Winnipeg in this spot. They get to remain in Winnipeg. But for me, ultimately, it's a no play. I don't want to back the Avalanche off of that big win at this number, but I don't want the Jets on the second half of a back-to-back and an overtime game. So ultimately, a stay-off spot for me. Yeah, but no action here for me. Great price for the Avs. I could see that. What about the under 6.5? At 6.5, I have this game projected for 6.3 goals. So I guess a slight lean towards it, but nothing crazy. We'll keep it moving along. We have the Dallas Stars and the Montreal Canadiens. We have Dallas minus 205 favorites, total of 6 in this game. Let's take a look at my projections for this game here, where Montreal has been a nice little surprise as of late. Cashed with them last night. I do have this game projected for the Stars to be around minus 150. So I see a little bit of value here with Montreal, but once again, we're getting in the same conversation as the Winnipeg Jets last game that we just talked about. It's the second half of a back-to-back for Montreal, and they played an overtime game last night, which does worry me. Now, granted, this is a young Montreal Canadiens team that doesn't know any better. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games, and they've been an awesome back the last little bit. They've also gone to overtime in 3 straight games. Dallas has gone to overtime in 3 of their last 7. Maybe a draw in this game. Dallas won't care if Montreal gets a point. Montreal won't care if Dallas gets a point. So for those people who like to bet draws, I could definitely see it. And I'm kind of interested in Montreal again. Now, the Dallas Stars are coming into this game playing really well also. They've won 6 in a row in 7 of their last 10. The only game they've lost, in their last 7 games, in the last 8 games, was an overtime loss against the Minnesota Wild. So this is a Dallas Stars team that's pushing their way towards the top of the Central. And I don't want to step in front of either teams right now. I think these two teams are bet on rather than bet against. So ultimately, it's dog or pass for me. That would be the only way I would look. Dog or pass, but I'm staying off. I'm staying off in this game. Was good stop, Gio. Appreciate it. Habs puck line. I cashed Montreal last night, not giving that back. Yeah, I think I'm on the same page with you there. What about the under 6.5? Yeah, I would look at a 6.5. I would look towards the under. I'm seeing 6s mostly though for this game. So at 6.5 though, yeah, I would look towards it. We'll move on though. The New Jersey Devils and the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Devils minus 140 favorites in this game, total 6. Now, everything I liked about the Devils when I took them to win the Stanley Cup, they're kind of getting away from that. They're starting to lose expected goal battles. They're starting to their advanced numbers are starting to slip a little bit. This has been a matchup dominated by the Tampa Bay Lightning. They've won 5 in a row, 9 of the last 10 against the New Jersey Devils. That's kind of surprising. The Devils are returning back home after a 6-game road trip. They went to Carolina, Anaheim, LA, San Jose, Seattle, and then they came back. They were able to come back home to New Jersey, and then they went out to play the Rangers at MSG. On the flip side, Tampa Bay, this is their first game of a road trip. They're coming off of back-to-back wins against Boston and Carolina, so 2 very nice wins for them there after a very bad West Coast road trip. I think this is Tampa Bay or nothing, really. As much as I've been an advocate for these for the New Jersey Devils, I just think this line's too expensive with the way that the Devils are starting to slip a little bit, and that the Lightning are starting to play a little bit better. I can get plus 130 for the Tampa Bay Lightning. It is dog or pass for me in this game. There's 15 games on the card. I see better opportunities out there, but I would only look towards Tampa Bay at the plus price tag in this game. Devils puck line. I lean Tampa Bay, but not getting involved with it there. We'll continue on. The Edmonton Oilers are minus 325 road favorites, total of 6.5 against the Chicago Blackhawks. I feel like every single time I see the Blackhawks play the Oilers, the Blackhawks are on a second half of a back-to-back. I feel like that's every single time that they play them. And now we're starting to see this line get up to minus 390, minus 400 range. This is absurd. granted, we all know the Blackhawks are not very good, and this is a little bit of a same season revenge. Yeah, it was a 5-2 win for the Blackhawks as almost $3 dogs earlier in the season in October against this Edmonton Oilers team. The Oilers are coming off of a loss. This is the spot where, like, if the Edmonton Oilers were coming in off of a nice win against Pittsburgh, they had basically swept the road trip, and that was the Blackhawks were the last game of that road trip. I'll be like, okay, cool. Maybe this is a spot where you can catch the Oilers sleeping. Not after they just lost the way they did against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And this is the second half of a back-to-back, third game in 4 nights for the Chicago Blackhawks. So as much as I'd be like, yeah, let's take a shot plus 300 with Chicago, I really think this is one of those games where Edmonton comes through and just destroys them just because they can and they're motivated coming off of a loss. Now, if this was Oilers just beat the Penguins 5-3 in their last game, they've won the first 3 games of their road trip. They won 5 in a row. They're coming in feeling good. Maybe that's Blackhawks first period plus a half. But for me, it's a stay-off spot. As much as I would love to take a shot with the Blackhawks in this game, I want when there's big favorites like this, I want them to be overlooking their opponent. I want them to be taking the game lightly. I want them in the situation where they're not going to think to give their all. After that loss to Pittsburgh, I do think that this is a game where the Oilers can come out here and win 6-1. So I'm not betting this game. Definitely don't want to lay minus 325. It would be Blackhawks or nothing, but yeah, no. Devils get right game? Maybe. Minus 325. Yeah. Oilers puck line. Oilers props, if any. Oilers over first period. Yeah, I can see it. Oilers team total over 4.5. I could see that as well. I could see this game being 5-1, 6-1 type of game there, where the Oilers just flex their muscles and do whatever they want with the Blackhawks. So we'll move on, though. Columbus Blue Jackets and St. Louis Blues. The Blues and the Blue Jackets. We have this game minus 165 for St. Louis. Total 6 in this game. Don't look now, but I believe the Blue Jackets are in a playoff spot. I believe they're in that second wild card spot. They currently have 44 points. They're a point behind the Boston Bruins for the first wild card spot. And on the flip side, we have St. Louis, who are 2 points behind the Canucks for that second wild card spot. So kind of an interesting race that both these two teams are in. They're both fringe teams, which the Blues we thought maybe can be a fringe team. We did not think that with the Columbus Blue Jackets whatsoever this season. And it very well may be that the Blue Jackets are going to fall off in the second half, and I truly do believe that. I don't think the Blue Jackets are that good to where they're going to compete for a playoff spot the entire year, but they've done good so far. I have this game projected for 5.84 goals, so I think this total is correct. I have this game projected Blues minus 170 range, so I think this side's correct in this game. Both these teams are playing pretty good as of late, and not teams that particularly want to fade. The Blues have kind of turned it around a little bit. Their advanced metrics have actually been pretty good. And on the flip side, the Blue Jackets, they're okay. The Blues are coming off of that nice 6-2 win against Anaheim, snapped a 2-game losing streak there. Columbus has won 3 in a row, 4 of their last 5. So this is a Columbus team that's actually won 7 of their last 10 games. So they're playing pretty good hockey right now, which has pushed them into that playoff spot. Ultimately, a no play for me. I'm not laying this number with the Blues, and I don't see enough of a risk reward for the Blue Jackets here. Blue Jackets definitely better in Columbus than they are on the road. They're just 5-12-3 on the road. So ultimately a no play here for me, but maybe a slight lean towards an under in this game. CBJ money line. All right. Morning. Yeah, CBJ money line. Blues smash. All right, a little bit of a split in the chat there. We'll move on. The Toronto Maple Leafs and the Vancouver Canucks. minus 180 for the Leafs with a total of 5.5 in this game. I have this game projected for the Leafs to be around a minus 145, minus 150 range. I have this game projected for 6.244 goals. We have the system play in effect for this game. The Canucks are coming in off of a 2-0 loss last night against the Carolina Hurricanes. So when you have the team coming in off the shutout loss, you play the over. I have this game projected for 6.23 goals. So I think that this is an over regardless of the system play or not, because this line should be a 6, not a 5.5. So give me the over 5.5 at minus 115 for starters in this game. And I lean Canucks in this spot as well. Not enough for me to pull the trigger on it. But this would be probably dog or pass if I'm betting a side or total or a side in this game. It would only be the Canucks at this number, but I don't like the situational spot they're in, and there's not enough risk reward really for me to go ahead and be like, yeah, let's take the Canucks. So it'll just be the over 5.5 at minus 115 for me in this spot between Toronto and Vancouver. I like the over. CBJ won the first meeting. Yeah. Canuck spot. Yeah. I can see that as a Canuck spot. I definitely lean in that direction. We'll move on. The Anaheim Ducks and the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers minus 195 favorites, total of 6 in this game. Into my projections we go, where I have this game projected minus 170 range for the Philadelphia Flyers. So this line, yeah, it's about correct, and 6.14 goals on this one as well. Anaheim has been a little bit of a tricky team. They're actually point percentage wise, they're better than the Flyers. They have lost 2 in a row. They lost to the Blues 6-2 in their last game, and to the Flames 3-2 in overtime in their previous game. They have won 5 of their last 10 games. They're 5-4-1. On the flip side, the Philadelphia Flyers are turning into the team that I believe they would be. A sub 500 team that's going to be more towards the bottom than the top of the division. They've lost 4 in a row. They've received points in 1 of those games, which was that overtime loss to Toronto. They've lost 7 of their last 10 games. They've really been struggling. There's no way in hell I'm laying minus 195, minus 200 with the Philadelphia Flyers. That's just not happening. Plus 165, though, with the Ducks is interesting. It would absolutely be Ducks or nothing. And if I was just throwing out picks for every single game, just to throw out picks for every single game, yeah, I would be on the Ducks in this game. That would be the way I would look in this one. But I'm trying not to bet every single game on the board, and I have a couple other spots I like. And this is just not one of them that I see enough value in. It would absolutely be Ducks or nothing, but I would only look. But it's a no pass for me. Ducks puck line, that's minus 145. I just take the money line, but that's just me. We'll move on though. We have 5 games remaining on the card. We have the Washington Capitals and the Nashville Predators in this game. We have the Predators with a minus 135 price tag attached to their name. Total of 6 in this game. I have this game projected Nashville minus 200. Yeah. And I have this game projected for 6.53 goals. So I do lean over in this game. And not only do I want to play the Nashville Predators, I want to play the Preds minus 1 in this game potentially. Are they laying a reasonable number in order for me to back them? Yeah, I can. Never mind. I can get minus 135 over on ESPN Bet. So I'm even going to take the Preds at this number, which I think has a really nice bit of value in here in this one. And we saw it last night. We cashed with the Montreal Canadiens, and I'm going right back to the fade, the Washington Capitals train in this one here. This is a Caps team where I still don't know how the hell they're winning games with the advanced metrics for them being the way they are. They've produced 2.82 expected goals for over the last 10 games, 3.52 against. This has been a team that has been getting outplayed game in and game out, And I think we're finally going to start to see negative regression for this Washington Capitals team. I don't think they continue this to win games that they're just getting outplayed, because eventually that's going to catch up to you. And I think we started to see that. We're starting to see that a little bit as of late, as they've lost 2 of their last 3 games, 3 of their last 5 games. Unfortunately, all their losses are in overtime, so they're still receiving points. But this is a Washington Capitals team that I think is going to be a very, very solid bet against going forward. And I'm going to continue with that here in this one. This is their second half of a back-to-back. It's their 3rd game in 4 days. And the first 2 games here, they've gone to overtime. They've gone to overtime 3 straight in 4 of the last 5. So this is a Washington team that is struggling to win games in regulation, to win games in regulation. They're not blowing anybody out other than the New York Rangers as of late. And I think this is finally when we start to see regression for the Washington Capitals. So I'm going to be on the Nashville Predators here at $1.35 for this one here. Give me the Preds. Ovi spot here, his points over. I mean, yeah, as he's continuing to chase Wayne Gretzky, I can very well see just continuing to bet his props. But other than that, that's the only thing that interests me at all in the Washington Capitals right now is the price, or is OV props. That'd be the only thing. But we'll move on. This game probably one of the easiest passes for me on the card. We have the New York Islanders and the Utah Hockey Club, and for me, this Islanders team, I only want them as a dog. It's a pick 'em. Total of 6. And my numbers have this game at a pick 'em and a total of 6.29. So I see no value on this game. Literally, my projections, I have this game projected 3.14, 3.14 projected score for this game. So I literally have this game at a pick 'em, actually probably slight edge towards Utah. With the home ice advantage. The Islanders are coming off of back-to-back wins, which they haven't done in a hot minute. The last time the Islanders had won back-to-back games was on December 7th and 8th. Then when they beat the Hurricanes, and then they went to Ottawa and beat the Senators. They've only strung together multiple wins 3 times this year now, and and then earlier in the year it's against Pittsburgh and Ottawa. So this is an Islanders team that has struggled to string together wins. I think they can in this game a little bit. Utah is, I believe, a better road team than they are a home team, which they are. Yeah, they're 12-8-3 on the road, but they're 6-8-4 on the at home. The Islanders 9-9-5 away from UBS Arena. It's no play for me whatsoever. Will I watch this game? Probably. Just because I'm an Islanders guy, but other than that, this game has absolutely no betting appeal to me whatsoever. So it's just a stay off spot for me over anything in this one. New York money line, yeah, I could see it. I could definitely see it. This is definitely not a stay off spot for me. I did a free pick video for this one, and I doubled up on this game. Let's talk about it. The Vegas Golden Knights are taking on the New York Rangers. We're seeing the Golden Knights anywhere between 165, 170 favorites in this game. Total 6 in this one here. And I doubled up on this game. Did a free pick video for it because this is the game I had circled once the game between the Islanders and the Vegas Golden Knights finished, and it was a 4-0 Islanders win. We had a team coming in off of the shutout loss, which is the Vegas Golden Knights in their last game. I have this game projected for 6.82 goals. Actually, I think I have this game projected as the highest scoring game of the day on my spreadsheet, which is interesting there. And I have this game projected for the Vegas Golden Knights to be minus 205 to minus 210 range, and we're getting minus 165, minus 170. I got the Vegas Golden Knights minus 1 at minus 107. I got the full game over 6 at minus 122 last night. For me, this is Vegas bounce back spot after the embarrassing 4-0 shutout loss against the Islanders the other day. And on the flip side, it's the Rangers playing a game after 1 day rest, but traveling from New York all the way to Vegas on a 1 day's rest. They've played back-to-back overtime games. They are 4-5-1 in their last 10 games. So this is a team that's been struggling a little bit as of late. Their wins are to a struggling Boston team, the Chicago Blackhawks, and an overtime win against the New York Rangers in their last 9 games. They did beat the Stars 3-1 10 games ago as well. But For me, I see this as the Vegas Golden Knights come in and they take care of business. So I'm going to be on the Vegas. I am on the Vegas Golden Knights at the -1 line at -107. I got the full game over 6 last night at -120. -120 for that one as well. There. We'll move on. 2 games remaining on the card. The LA Kings and the Calgary Flames. Kings -120, total 5.5 in this one here. The Kings are coming in off of an overtime win last night on a second half of a back-to-back. I had this game projected around -130 range for the Kings, so I see slight edge on LA. Don't like that. It's the second half of a back-to-back. I have this game projected for 5.99 goals, so I see a little bit of value on the over in this game at the 5.5 number. Ultimately, I don't want the Kings after last night's game. They won in overtime, second half of a back-to-back, so not the greatest spot for the LA Kings in this one. Granted, they had plenty of time off in between games. They've won 5 games in a row, the Kings, and I thought that was going to stunt their momentum last night, or with their game being postponed against the Flames. So I think this was so this game was supposed to happen a couple days ago. Ultimately, no play here for me. It would be over or nothing if I'm betting this game over 5.5, but not a game I'm getting involved with. What's good, Brio Kelly? I'm on the Flames. Flames money line, Flames and reg, and Kings money line. So a little bit of split there. This one, for me, it would be Kings or pass, but I don't like the situation. Winnipeg to LA is a long flight. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. But we'll move on. They went from Winnipeg to Calgary, so that's not as far of a flight from Manitoba to Alberta. Final game on the card, we have the Minnesota Wild taking on the San Jose Sharks. We have the Wild as -190 favorites in this game with a total of 6. I had this game projected -145 range for the Minnesota Wild, and I have this game projected for 6.13 goals. I think that I don't want to bet against the Wild in this game. I just don't. We have the Wild coming in off of an embarrassing 6-1 loss to just an absolute blowout loss to the Colorado Avalanche in their last game. And for San Jose, they're coming in on a second half of a back-to-back. They were in Utah last night. Then they head home back to the Shark Tank for this game here. I think this could be a pissed-off Wild team coming out and just beating the crap out of the Sharks because they can. And for now, but the only thing is I don't want to lay $1.90 2 to 1, and I don't want to puck line the Wild here in this one here. Plus, what I'm seeing -200 plus 125, so that would be -133 on a -1 line. I think I wanted the Wild in this game. The Wild are too expensive though. That's the pretty plain and simple my staying off reason for this game. It's just the Wild are too expensive in this game for me to want to back them. So for me, it is leaning towards the Wild, but too expensive to back for me. Wild smash, I can absolutely see that. Maybe it's a first period puck on. Maybe it's Wild first period puck on. But that is everything for today's card. If you guys have not already, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. I see 43 people watching on Tim's Twitter. Be sure to come over to the YouTube and hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you guys have not already. Turn on those post notifications so you guys are notified each and every time we are live here at ESB, which is every single morning, anywhere between 10 and 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But that is going to wrap it up for this one. I want to thank you guys, as always, for watching, and we'll catch you guys same time, same place tomorrow for another edition of the Earle Sports Bet Show. Good luck, everyone.